The happiness that burned me will now consume him. Just imagine waking up in the dead of night, maybe standing near a ruined temple, and hearing those exact words whispered in the shadows. Pretty terrifying, right? Well, that's exactly the kind of chilling vibe we're exploring today. Welcome back to The Explainer. We're diving deep into a seriously creepy folklore narrative that sits right at the intersection of human psychology, deep-seated envy, and the supernatural. Let's get right into it.
Today we're looking at Kala Tantra, a tale of jealousy, black magic, and ruin. We're basically going to decode the anatomy of a curse, breaking down how a seemingly perfect happy family was completely dismantled by a quiet, festering resentment burning right inside its own walls. Section 1. A family divided by envy. To really wrap our heads around this tragedy, we've got to understand where it all started. I mean, every good story needs a solid foundation, and ours begins with the Dharampal family. Now, on the surface, they looked great, respected, deeply connected, but you know how it goes. Unequal success has this way of breeding silent contempt. The contrast between the two brothers, Ajay and Vijay, is literally night and day. On one hand, you have Ajay. He moved out to the city, built this incredibly successful business, and was living large. But the key thing here is he was generous. He's paying his parents' medical bills, funding repairs for the village home, even covering school fees for his brother Vijay's kids. He and his wife Meera were just universally loved. But then, on the other side of the coin, you have Vijay and his wife Kavita, who stayed back in the village. Now, Vijay actually seemed fine with this setup. Kavita, though, not so much. She was brewing this incredibly toxic secret jealousy. She felt completely overshadowed by Ajay's success. Even when Ajay bought a massive house in the city and invited the entire family to come live with him, Kavita actually manipulated Vijay into staying behind. Her envy wasn't just some passing thought, it was actively rotting her perspective, pushing her closer and closer to a devastating breaking point. Which brings us to Section 2, Descent into Dark Magic. That unchecked jealousy, that was the ultimate catalyst. Kavita's resentment basically reached a boiling point, where just being passive-aggressive wasn't going to cut it anymore. She ended up seeking out this secretive, elderly village woman who was rumored to practice the dark arts. And this introduces us to Kala Tantra, which literally translates to black magic in this folklore context. These rituals are wild because they take incredibly mundane, everyday items and turn them completely sinister. We're talking human hair, ash, lemons, black thread, mustard oil, and the intent is 100% malevolent. The whole point is to control, sicken, or just completely ruin another human being. Kavita actually dedicated her nights to mastering these exact rituals, literally transforming her own jealousy into a weapon. The duality of what Kavita did next is it's chilling. When Ajay and Meera came down to visit the village, Kavita welcomed them with open arms and this warm, totally fake smile, all while she was methodically checking off these dark, ritualistic steps behind their backs. Step 1. She sneaks into Ajay's room in the dead of night to steal some of his hair. Step 2. She hides this cursed packet right inside his wallet. Step 3, and this one is really messed up, she literally feeds him enchanted ash. She mixes it straight into his kheer, which is a sweet rice dish, and serves it to him with a smile. And finally, step 4, while the whole house is fast asleep, she's out behind an old temple performing midnight rituals, dripping mustard oil over a photograph of Ajay. She was systematically planting the seeds of his destruction right under his nose. Moving on to Section 3, the curse takes hold. So those seeds were planted and man, they sprouted with terrifying speed. It is wild to see how this curse essentially dismantles a person layer by layer over time. Just days later, the psychological impact hits hard. Ajay, who was normally known for being super calm and collected, is suddenly filled with this uncharacteristic explosive rage. He's snapping at his wife, yelling at his parents. Then, a few weeks later, the financial ruin kicks in. Long-term customers start canceling, major contracts just fall through at the absolute last second, and his business partners lose all trust in his decision-making. Fast forward a few months, and the physical and supernatural toll takes over completely. His bank loans default, his servants quit, and Ajay is left paralyzed by these severe night terrors. He's running high fevers that doctors literally cannot diagnose, and he starts having terrifying hallucinations of dark shadows just standing by his wardrobe. His entire foundation just crumbled. The sheer terror of what he was going through is captured so perfectly in this quote. His wife overheard him sleep-talking, and he was pleading, saying, "Don't call me. What have I done to you?" That chilling line was the turning point. Ajay's mother, Saroj, finally started putting the pieces together. She noticed this terrifying pattern. Ajay's life, his business, his health, they only ever crashed immediately after returning from their visits to the village. The suspicion finally landed on Kavita. Just imagine the horror of realizing the source of your family's absolute destruction has been sleeping just down the hall from you. That takes us to Section 4, Breaking the Black Magic. Saroj realized pretty quickly that conventional medicine wasn't going to cure a supernatural curse, right? So she bypassed the doctors entirely, dragged Ajay back to the village, and headed straight for an ancient forest temple to consult a revered Swami. And this is where we see the physical manifestation of the curse reacting to a holy place. Ajay, a guy who normally would never leave his house without praying, violently resists even entering the temple. His face literally twists up in this unnatural fear, and he refuses to even look at the deity. When the Swami tries to place a bit of sacred ash on Ajay's forehead, Ajay violently recoils. He drops to the floor like he was struck by lightning, just gasping for air. For the Swami, this was undeniable proof. A dark entity was attached to him, and it was sent by someone close to his own family. So to fight off this Kala Tantra, the Swami orchestrates a sacred havan, basically a purifying fire ritual. He uses these pure, holy elements: Gangajal, which is holy water, camphor, yellow mustard, and sacred ash. Notice how these stand in direct opposition to the dark ash and oil that Kavita used. And this ritual, it was absolutely brutal. Ajay became almost animalistic. He was growling, his eyes were bloodshot, and he was trying desperately to destroy the ritual fire. It literally took 2 grown men to hold him down. It wasn't until the Swami forcefully threw that sacred ash directly onto Ajay's head that the entity was finally expelled. Ajay just collapsed, and the dark bond was broken, at last. And finally, Section 5, the final tragic consequence. But here's the thing about folklore. Energy doesn't just vanish into thin air, right? It returns to its source. The Swami leaves Ajay's mother with a really grave warning. The person who sent this curse is going to meet a very dark end. Empowered by knowing the truth, the family immediately goes to confront Kavita. Let's trace how this final showdown just completely shattered the family structure. Step 1. Backed into a corner, Kavita finally breaks. She confesses to her extreme, all-consuming jealousy, screaming about how everyone treated Vijay like he didn't even exist compared to Ajay. Step 2. Vijay is utterly devastated that his own wife tried to destroy his brother. He grabs a knife in a blind rage. But in this incredibly profound moment of grace, it's actually Ajay, the very victim of her curse, who physically steps in and stops Vijay from doing something he'd regret forever. Step 3, the ultimate consequence is just total abandonment. Vijay takes their daughter, and the entire family packs up and leaves for the city. Which leaves us at Step 4. Kavita is left completely alone in that old village house. Just her, isolated, with nothing but the dark forces she invited in. And this is exactly where the Swami's warning comes to fruition. The timeline of Kavita's demise is this chilling, perfect mirror to Ajay's suffering. On night 1, she starts hearing the exact same haunting whispers that she used during her own rituals. By night 3, those menacing dark shadows that were plaguing Ajay, they start appearing in her own room. Finally, after a few days, villagers start complaining of a terrible smell. They break the door down, and Kavita is found dead. And what's sitting right in front of her? The exact tools of her Kalatantra, a black cloth and a burnt lemon. The magic had entirely rebounded and consumed its creator. So I'm going to leave you with a question to chew on. Was the true horror in this story the Kalatantra itself? Or was it the all-too-human greed, envy, and jealousy that invited that darkness in the first place? Like the villagers still say, where greed and black magic meet, humanity doesn't survive, only ruin remains. It's just such a fascinating look at how folklore uses the supernatural to hold a mirror right up to our own psychological flaws. Anyway, thank you so much for diving into this one with me. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and I will catch you in the next explainer.